Welcome to the B. Andrews Radio Show. It is good to have you along with us today. You'll be listening to this show on October the 3rd when it airs, but today we are recording this show on October 2nd, which makes this a special edition of the B. Andrews Radio Show. Due to our working schedule and other things that are going on, we're not going to be able to get this show recorded on October 3rd, so we decided to do it a day early, and hope that you will enjoy the show. I am one of the members of the B. Andrew Band and your co-host for today. I am Eric. Over on the other side of the room is the other co-host, and his name is John, the other member of the B. Andrews Band. Say hey, John.
Hey, hey, hey.
And we're so glad to have you along with us today. Hey, got a couple of news items that I kind of want to pass along to you. Something that we have been doing. We haven't really shared it here on the B. Andrews Radio Show, but we want to pass it along to you. We have been submitting our music and have been a part of an online indie music service. I think that's the best way of putting it. It's called the letter N, as in Nancy, 1M, and it's called Nation One Music. That's what it stands for. It's for independent artists all around the world. There are probably well over 1,000 artists that are on this particular website. And we've been submitting our music and slowly uploading it and so forth. Well, some of you may know this from being our friends on Facebook with B. Andrews. We had a song that we submitted on N1M. It went all the way on the Christian charts, went to number 22 in the nation. So, that basically
Nothing's gonna stop us.
Anyway. And I do believe that it the way that they measure it is by frequency of the amount of people that are listening to a particular song in a given week. We have for 8 weeks in a row now. We've submitted 3 of our songs on there, and all 3 of the songs have been number 1, number 2, and number 3 for the region of Wisconsin for 8 weeks now.
Woohoo!
So
nothing's gonna stop us.
So I've been exploring the page. And working with the page and submitting some things and kind of growing our audience. We've got an audience, people that are have put our songs on as their fave in their list. You can do that. They make up a music list and put our songs on as their fave. We have one person is from Dusseldorf, Germany.
Yeah. Cool.
And do we know anybody from Dusseldorf?
Emily does.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Emily, my little sister, knows someone. At least she lives in Germany. She's she's like a pen pal kind of thing.
At least she lives in Germany. Okay,
she might actually live in Dusseldorf.
Germany is a nice size piece of property there, dude. So you could be from Germany and not necessarily know somebody in Dusseldorf.
You asked, so
okay.
Whatever.
Lots of people from around the country and so forth. So it's growing there, but as your music hits their people's music list and they recommend you and they share your music and so forth, you get an artist rating. We are nationally as a band on, and this is indie, so don't, everybody, and it's one site. This is not Billboard, which is like the industry standard. So, there's a disclaimer there, and this is pretty young.
Stop disclaiming things. Just get to claiming things.
Okay. All right. We are the number 1 music band in Wisconsin.
Boom.
Okay. And that's all genres. We are number 7.
Take that, Madison. I bet there's a bunch of indie bands out of Madison.
Actually, the most that show up are out of Milwaukee.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And like the 7 of the top 10, we're number 1, but 7 of the top 10 are hip hop. So it's like, okay, how does the Christian guys get to go number 1? Anyway, we are number 7 in the nation of all Christian bands. in America. On
Wow.
this particular website, our music is shared that much, and the interest and the volume that we're creating, we are number 7 in the nation of for Christian bands on this website. And here we go, drum roll. Very good, young man. We are number
That was lame.
We are number 16 in the country out of all genres
Oh, wow.
for creating interest and our volume of our music.
That was genuine surprise. I know you told me this already, but I forgot. So.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, we put every time we get a little bit of news and so forth back from N1M, we end up putting it up on our website or actually on Facebook. So if you ever get a chance to go there and check it out and see some of the stuff, there's other musicians on there that are pretty cool. Some good music is being made there. It's independent.
So yeah, I know I keep making all the like woohoo and stuff, but I really can't discount God's blessing in this. Just don't think I'm not thinking that with this. It is exciting.
It is.
Yay!
It is, and we want our people peeps. I almost said peeps.
We want our peeps.
we want our friends out there to know that we are still in the music making business.
Friends. Peeps are friends, aren't they?
I surely believe so.
Yeah, your peeps are your friends.
Anyway, we're still in the music making business. We're really slowing down on public performances and touring and that kind of thing. Although, do want people to know that we are actively booking for the 2018 season, which is right after Easter, if it's outside of the state of Wisconsin, after Easter and before Thanksgiving for 2018. So please know that if you're interested in having B. Andrews come and to do an event for you or to play at your church, your youth group, don't worry about where it is in the country. If we can make it happen, we will make it happen. And when I say that, I look over at John and I say, remember California tour. Don't shake your head no at me. Remember the California tour.
We'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen. We'll do our best. We will go back to California sometime.
That's a long trip. That's a long way from Wisconsin.
California tour. It was a pretty hard tour. So anyway, that happened 3 years ago, but it's fond memories now.
Blah. Blah.
But when we were out laying on top of our heads in the back of the Suburban, it wasn't too fond of a memory then. That's for sure. We're laughing now, and I'm segueing into another statement here. It's good to laugh because for those of you that are listening to this show, today has been a really difficult day, especially for music lovers, music fans, and even more deeply, country music fans.
And all the Nevadans.
And to the folks out in Nevada and country music lovers around the world, you will know about this by the time that this hits the air. 58 people at this point have lost their lives. There are others that are still in hospitals in critical condition fighting for their lives. And we just want folks to know that our thoughts and prayers go out to those families and to people who have already lost loved ones, to people who are injured. This shouldn't happen. Music should bring such huge joy. And my heart goes out to Jason Aldean. We've been, young man, you and I have been up on that stage giving music and the energy, the vibe, the fun that is coming along. That's what music should help create, a connection between the musician, the audience. The music it goes up, it raises up. It should enlighten hearts. It should make hearts light, bring people together. There are times that the music should create great emotion and make you cry together. The music should be bringing people together, and this should be a great occasion. But a whole lot of evil has turned this particular joyful situation into a heart-wrenching situation. And And my heart goes out, not only those who lost family, my heart goes out to Jason Aldean. I'm thinking of him, and I'm wondering psychologically, how do you walk back out on the stage the next time and not be thinking, is there a sniper out there somewhere? Just, it's not just about him, but he was the guy on stage when it was happening. There's quite a bit of trauma that goes along with that. And what about the people who came to see me? Am I putting them in danger anymore? And just lots of thoughts.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes with that.
A lot of thoughts go along with that, and our hearts go out to that situation. And I really don't have any more to say about that. It's just heartbreaking. But I do want to segue into another thing, and that's about the times that John and I are on stage. And one of John's, well, let me back up just a little bit. The band, and we've gone from 7 members to 5 members to 4 members to 3 members. Now we're down to 2. Just you and I. Bad song. Anyway.
You and me against the world.
There you go. Sometimes it feels like you and me against the world.
That's a mother-daughter song, though.
Yeah, it is. There you go.
Huh.
Helen Reddy.
Shouldn't have brought that up. Oops.
Yeah. I could have done The Courtship of Eddie's Father. That would. People, let me tell you about my best friend.
Okay, but wait. My name's not Eddie.
No.
And you're married. Moving right along.
All right. So I'm sorry. The issues of the day have kind of got me a little nostalgic. But the band, let me describe the band in these terms. The band has a twofold kind of ministry that we do. The one ministry is evangelism, because that's where my heart is in evangelism. The other ministry that we do is a worship ministry, and that's because that's where John's heart is. And so before we do anything else, the first thing that we need to do is to define what is worship. So, John, jump in here. I'm going to ask you that question. You define for me, in your mind, what is worship? What are we doing? What is your expectation?
No, we're talking about corporate worship, right?
Yeah, we want to separate that. This isn't private worship. This is corporate worship. We have a group of people together. So in your mind, when we do this, what is a goal that you're after? So your definition of corporate worship is going to set that goal.
Correct. Worship is it's still personal, even if you're doing it in a corporate setting. Worship is your personal expression to God of your love, adoration, praise, acknowledgement of who He is. Those are the things that I would define as worship. It was one of those things that's really hard to pin down for it like an exact thing. For instance, my obedience could be worship. We were talking about this earlier before we came on, and you just recently preached on tithing. That's giving. And that's an obedience that we're taught in the Bible to do, is to give our tithe, and that's a form of worship.
It is?
I'm worshiping God with my money.
All right.
Let's say here, say I praise God and thank Him. Giving thanks. That's a kind of worship. Praising God, telling people, telling Him, acknowledging the things He's done in our lives. That's a kind of worship. Obedience can, like we just talked about that. That goes into more of the personal, sort of the personal area of worship, but corporate is where we put like praise and adoration and adoring who God is. That's what we're focusing on, and it's me personally expressing that is what I would consider worship to be.
All right. So we're going to explore in that a little more, because there are things that we do to bring that out. But this is a great place to take a break, get a refill on what you're drinking, and come on back and listen to this discussion on the B. Andrews Radio Show. Sing the chord of praise. Na, 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 na. Sing the chord of him Joe, cause he's a real good friend. He wants to start a fight when things aren't right in this world that we're living in. So it says to him, Joe, I know that you know that fighting never pays. So instead of a fight when things aren't right, why don't you start with a chord of praise? Na, 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 na. Sing the chord of praise. Na, 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 na. Sing the chord of praise. There is a simple truth that folks don't understand. Everything that happens in our lives comes from God's own hand. Everybody has a choice that they can make every day. You can choose to ignore what comes from God or sing the word of praise. Now it occurred to me how things might be when this world comes to an end. It won't be long till we're all gone and standing up in heaven, and then we'll have no fear when we get there, cause with the angels we will raise to my Lord a song that starts with this chord, a song that starts with the chord of praise. Sing the chord of praise. Hey, how are ya? Welcome back to the B. Andrews Radio Show. Hope your cup did not run over while you were away. Well, it would make a mess if people's cups ran over. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Guess.
yeah, you know, it means anyway. Moving right along.
Don't you? Never mind. It just seems like such a bad. I would be like, man, I hope your cup didn't get empty. I can always clean up the mess, but at least I have coffee to drink.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Anyway.
I'd much rather not want my cup to go empty.
Well, that's why they went away on break, is to go fill their cup over. Now, see, you got me saying it again.
Wow.
To go fill their cup up. How's that? I didn't pop the mic there, did I?
Don't you mean over, like again?
Yeah, okay.
Fill their cup.
Okay.
Over.
All right. Anyway, you're listening to the B. Andrews Radio Show. We're glad that you're along. And we're going to put a poll about this up on our Facebook page. So be sure to connect with us at B. Andrews. You'll find our B. Andrews Radio Show page at our other page called B. Andrews. And you'll find it at like a person's name, B-E. Second name, Andrews, Andrews on Facebook. Be a friend of ours there. You can also find us at B. Andrews, B. dot, as in an abbreviated first name, Andrews, Andrews, as in a last name, and connect with us there. But we're going to put a poll up and ask the question, what do you think worship is? Would love to hear from you, see your opinion, connect with us there. It would be a lot of fun. So back to talking with John about this over here on the other side of the room. One of the things that we do, especially with youth worship, now this past year we had a great opportunity to do worship for a camp. And there was two sections to the camp. The first part of the camp was a women's conference. And they said, hey, since you're coming in and doing worship for that, would you do worship for the women's conference? We said, sure. And so we came in for the women's conference. And a lot of the music that we do is we arrange it for youth, and we do it so that we can connect with the young people, break down their inhibitions. There really is. We work really hard at this, and so we get them to try to participate corporately. Now, if you go back to old Sunday school songs, that would be like hand motions. I'm trying to think of a song that might have hand motions to it off the top of my head back when I was in Sunday school. That was a long time ago.
God is so big,
so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do.
Doesn't mean anything if they can't see them.
That's true, but you have.
I was doing hand motions.
He was doing hand motions, and he was doing the muscle man thing. My God is so big, his hand over his head, so strong and so mighty, the muscle arm. Yeah. I get it. They don't want to know.
They
anyway.
Get it.
But you get everybody doing it together, and you got the whole crowd doing that kind of a thing, and it's corporate. And if everybody's doing it, then nobody can make fun of anybody, and they're having fun and having fun. Can you have fun in worship?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and that's one of the things that...
I don't know if you know this, but my God created fun. So, like, he's got the corner on the market on that, too.
Absolutely, but there's people that's not worship. It's not sorrowful. It's not soulful.
Well, see, now that's actually another part of worship, because that would be pouring out myself... penitence it can be very much so part of worship. Actually, I'd like to correct something I said earlier.
All right.
A little bit. I said worship is expressing ourselves to God, but that's one side of it, because worship is us connecting with God, because not only do we express ourselves to God in worship, but one of the greatest things about it, and one of the most important things about it, is God gets to express himself to us. And when he meets us and meets our hearts, we get to know him better.
And when God meets with us, he pours things out to us. We can feel his
love.
Okay,
his
there's
grace.
one.
We have a better sense of his mercy, his forgiveness.
Can he pour out joy?
He could pour out lots of joy. That goes back in with the fun, like you were talking about.
Okay, so then he could pour out fun during worship.
Got that right.
Okay, and so people think that we're crazy, but then we go into worship automatically going, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
And that is something that John and I do when we put together a youth worship. And so we go, how can we have fun? So we go into this women's conference with loaded with these kinds of songs, and we knew that there were going to be women there. We look out over the crowd. Here's what we didn't anticipate. We did not anticipate that the average age was going to be about 65. That kind of got us, and we said to ourselves, we said, because we was talking to us.
Don't include me in your...
Are these 50, 60, 70, pushing 80
and there's some 80-year-old
ladies, are they going to do this kind of worship with us? And the answer was...
Oh, yes.
Yes.
We did a camp right after this in the exact same place, and they put the children to shame. There was like this 80-year-old lady on, we did the song Big House, and there's this 80-year-old lady. I mean, no. It was I Am Free, because we get the kids to run it. We try to get the kids to run in place. And there was like this 80-year-old that was just like, I am free to run. I mean,
she was literally running in place.
She was power walking it. I mean,
it was great.
She was just missing like the sweatband. And I told the kids next week from the stage, it's like, I've seen elderly ladies put you people to shame, children to shame. Wow.
Because the kids were having problems. They were inhibited for public display doing.
Cool.
It's not cool to do that in front of people. And that's one of the reasons why we want to break down the wall, because when it comes to corporate worship, it's not that you're putting on a show for other people, but if you are inhibited to do any display of affection towards God, then that is inhibiting your obedience for worship, because you don't know that if all of a sudden God starts speaking to your heart and he just starts pouring out his love on you, that simple act of raising your hands and the person next to you is like, whoa, what are you? Oh, God's speaking to him. God's speaking to her. And all of a sudden it makes you want to be in tune with what God is doing and what God's going on in a place. I never was so humbled. I was at, I think, a Toby Mac concert, and I have never been so humbled as one time, Cincinnati Gardens. And he came out, and one part of his show, and I forgot what it was that he was doing, guy over to my left turns around and gets on his knees and starts worshiping in the middle of a crowd of 5,000. Uninhibited by the swarms of people that are around him. Why? because he was worshiping.
Well, yeah, and the question becomes, what means more to you? The guy standing next to you, what he thinks, or you connecting with God and what he thinks? Because if my mind's on you, my mind's on the guy next to me. Well,
you're not worshiping.
What does he think? What does he think? Well, what does God think in this moment? That's the point here. Aren't you expressing yourself to God? Aren't you connecting with Him? Aren't you letting Him express Himself back to you? And the question is when that happens, when you receive that, are you willing to acknowledge that? And I think that's one of the things that kind of gets in your mind is what's that guy gonna think of me if God, what if God asks me to, and to be honest, like one of the things that blesses me personally, and it's a good call to ask you where your heart's at, is if, like you said, that guy was willing to turn around and get on his knees to worship God right there. Not that I want to just copy that guy, because
no, not
there
the point
are
at all.
different
You're right.
people that are, look, I would, there are different people that express themselves to God in different ways, whether that's in just sheer quietness, whether that's in outbursts of joy, which I've witnessed plenty. The question is, when someone does that, when you see that, and this is one of the great things about corporate worship, the question becomes is, why is that person being touched by the Holy Spirit and encountering the Holy Spirit, and why am I not?
Not. Yeah, there you go.
And that becomes a really good knock on your heart's door to be like, hey, where's my mind at? Where's my heart at that I'm not feeling the Spirit. We're not talking about emotion here, that I'm not being humbled by the Spirit like that person is. And it kind of makes your heart hungry. I want what that guy has. I don't want to just show off, but I want to meet God like He is.
Yeah.
And
that's a good phrase. I want to meet God like Him.
Or she.
Yeah. Let's not.
Because I'll be honest, brag on Grandma a little bit. My grandma, she is one of those people that the outburst of joy is her expression to God. If God is touching her heart, she lets everybody know it.
Lets everybody in church on Sunday know. Yes, she does.
And it's always a finger on my heart that says, hey, are you, why aren't you feeling that? Why aren't you connecting? She's connecting with God. That's blessing her. Mm-hmm. Why aren't you getting blessed? And it's a great reminder for that.
So let's segue then. We're kind of defining, hopefully we painted a bit of a picture on what worship is, and we definitely by no means did we give a definite picture of worship, but let's talk about then the job of the worship leader.
So this is actually the simplest thing to answer, because worship, and it's not complicated at all. Worship is what you do personally. The worship leader could never worship for someone.
Right.
It can't happen. The worship leader's job is to, I would say, inspire. For instance, I am supposed to be, as a worship leader, I am supposed to be worshiping, and you should be able to see that I am worshiping God this whole time. The other main job of the worship leader is to simply provide the environment that makes worship as easy as possible.
Okay. And my definition, this is the way I say it, that's good. Provide the environment. Because if you're blowing sour notes, you got a 3-4 part group up there, and somebody is playing minors during majors, and you've got
I just mean wrong chords.
Or you got somebody, you got somebody, the blend on the three singers. Somebody's trying to do harmony, but instead of harmonic tones, they're singing semitones. All these different kinds of things are not providing an environment to be able to worship. If it's hard on the ears, it does not provide a good worship. Which, let me say this, because people will watch us walk in with our sound equipment, and this is a common thing that we get said, oh my goodness, that's a lot of sound equipment. You guys, you're going to blow us out of here, right? No. We realize that if it's uncomfortable to the ears, worship will not be happening. We're going to shoot ourselves in the foot if we actually take that attitude. And yet there are some who do. It's like, man, we came in to rock the joint. No, that's not worship. We didn't come in to rock the joint. My definition is worship is leading people before the throne of God. And so this is going to, we got two different definitions here. This is the kind of thing that we're going to put up on our poll, but it's time to go and refill our cups. So you go do that and come right on back, and we're going to finish this discussion.
You're listening to the B. Andrews Radio Show.
I have this feeling you're calling me to something so much more. Well, every time I get this close, I give up before I go too far. This time I'll let nothing stop me. I'll go until I've got no more. So batten down the hatches, say hello to arms, going so much further than I've ever been before. Won't be easy, I don't know what's in store. Even if I stand alone, I'm taking on the world. When it comes to this, Lord, I'm something of an expert.
Welcome back to the B. Andrews Radio Show. We're in our third and final segment. We're talking about the worship leader, what worship is, and the job of a worship leader. So we kind of want to finish continuing with this thought. And also here in our third segment, we're going to share with you a little good news, right?
We could use it.
We all sure could use a little good news today. But we were talking about the job of the worship leader, and I was talking about the worship leader. You use the definition of providing an environment for the worship leader. Part of that environment is also style of music. This is huge nowadays. We have people. Go ahead.
Talking about style and environment, that's only looking at it from the musical part of providing a worshipful environment. You also have responsive readings and liturgies, and there's lots of other ways for that corporate enjoyment of worship. But yes, let's focus it. I just wanted to be able to say that because, again, it's good to be able to broaden the concept of it, because that's more ways to enjoy our God and enjoy worshiping Him and enjoy His presence if you open up your mind a little bit to think more broadly about the definition of worship.
Okay.
But yes, we want to focus
we're
in
musical,
on the
and
music
we're a musical
side.
Band, and worship is what we do. We're going to kind of hone in here just a little bit on the music part. And what I was getting ready to start to say
before
you interrupted me with a great thought, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
It was very good. Is the idea that style of worship is really huge nowadays. We have some folks that are still hanging on to traditional organ, piano. In fact, it's called, for people who run multi-services, it's called traditional worship. And we're having this thing of contemporary worship that is coming in. And speak to that for just a little bit, because I know that that's stuff that we wrestle with and we fight. Fight, wrong term. Wrestle with, though. We'll go to a church and we will tell pastors before we ever get there, we do contemporary music, pastor. Is that good? We do contemporary music. We'll come in, we'll set up, get ready, and all of a sudden you start watching the 60, 70-year-olds come through the door and you're going, is this going to go well? In fact, we had one church let me tell this. We're setting up, and we have this one particular church where a fellow comes in, and we're trying to set our sound levels for that church because, again, we don't believe in just playing loud. That just doesn't work. It really doesn't. It's not common sense to it. Okay, and but we're not there yet. So things start loud, and then we bring things down to adjust them to the room that we're playing in. And this fellow, we hadn't even gotten set up, and he's like, "It's not going to be loud, is it?" And we said, "No, we'll adjust to the room," and so forth. And John goes back to the sound mixer and to the amplifier station that we built, and he slides everything down. And so pastor of the church comes to us and he says, "That guy over there, he didn't complain about you guys being too loud, did he?" And I'm like, "Well, no, he just asked if we were going to be too loud. I'm trying to be smooth things over just a little bit." And he goes, "I'll show him." And he walks back to our sound mixer and cranks us up a little bit louder than what we turned ourselves down from. Consequently, I mean, we had already started playing by then. And consequently, this fella literally gets up and walks out right in the middle of our concert. Pastor's like, "Yeah, that's cool. I didn't necessarily want him here anyway." And I thought, there's different people out there. And if we turn them off, we're not helping people worship. Our job is to help lead people to the throne, to, as you put it, create an environment for everybody to worship. If people's minds are already there that contemporary is not going to do it for them, what's the point of us trying to shove contemporary down their throat? Mm-hmm. And if the young people aren't coming in because they're like, "I just don't identify with this music," then what's the point of continue to shove traditional style church worship down their throat?
And on that subject, I would say the responsibility, people may not like this, but I would say the responsibility lies more with the older ones. For instance, we're trying to look at young Christians and reach them with something that they can identify with.
Or just young people that aren't even Christians. Bring them in.
But either way, they're younger. We're teaching them. The older ones, hey, you may not like this style of music, but you're to the place where I kind of expect you to identify with the message more than just necessarily what this sounds like.
So are you saying spiritual maturity should take over?
Yeah, that's a little bit of the that's a little bit more of the responsibility I would put on their shoulders. But I get it though. I get not liking the music, having something that you like more. I completely understand. But it's just, hey, if we're going to reach a younger generation, if we're going to talk their language, then help us do that.
Becoming
be a part
contemporary
of that.
to the culture will speak their language. Yeah, that's the job of a worship leader. And I'll tell you what, in some churches, it is quite the tightrope walking job to do, because we're not trying to alienate other people, but we are trying to be contemporary with the modern culture. So, that's the job. One last little thing I want to throw in here and give maybe 2-3 minutes to this because I don't want to miss our good news segment. And that is dangers that worship leaders face.
I would say it's one of the most dangerous jobs, if not the most dangerous job in the ministry profession. And this is the reason why I would say that.
Dangerous. That's an interesting word. Dangerous job.
Lucifer was a worship leader.
If you read worship the Bible, leaders are the devil, and the devil is bad.
Wow. Ouch. Anyway, that was his job. He did it in front of the throne of God and got so full of himself somehow in the presence of the Almighty that he was willing to rebel, that he could not separate people, the angels' adulation and adoration for the Almighty, and took it upon himself and was trying to literally steal the praise that was due God in the throne room of God himself. That he was able to get so full of himself. And I would say the danger is we're on earth here having people sing. We're not even in the physical throne room of God, or the as physical as you can describe heaven. Anyway, you know what I mean. But that's a theological discussion for another day. We're here on earth in the imperfect realm, and where you're just when you're just meeting with the Holy Spirit of God, not even God the Father. And
oh, you just separated the Trinity?
Well, that's another theological discussion for another day. My point is if he can do it in the throne room of God and get too full of himself, and he is far wiser, regardless of how absolutely full of himself he is, and can outsmart any of us, then what is the danger to me, and what do I need to, what kind of tightrope am I walking then as a worship leader, and what do I need to be careful of?
So let me reiterate this really quick. You're saying that when all of a sudden that applause goes up, or when that praise goes up, or when people may meet you afterwards and they go, wow, that's just awesome guitar playing. I mean, I can just feel God through you when you play the guitar and all that kinds of stuff. What you're saying is, don't let it go to your head.
Oh, yeah.
And
learning to be invisible and being completely okay with being invisible on stage, wanting to be invisible on stage. There's natural human things to it too. Simply, I spent a long time learning this part, and it's hard work, and I would like you to at least notice that, I spent all last weekend working on this. So, I mean, there's even some humanness that's okay in that it's like, this is not me being prideful, but every other good worker, you get to see his good work and get to say, hey, you did a good job. Hey, yeah, that's awesome. But at the same time, you're not supposed to be, this was all for you. This was just a conduit so that you could see God, so that you could meet with God today. This had nothing to do with me, and being completely okay with that.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
It's a danger. It's hard to do.
One other thing, and I'm just going to leave this at this, and we're going to break to good news, but one other danger is putting so much work in and worshiping yourself, because you're supposed to corporately worship along with the other worshipers. There's a need for your heart, need for your soul to worship alongside with everybody else and yet lead worship. And it's very, very easy to miss that. Now, I'm not going to be able to talk to that or whatever, because it's time for good news.
News.
We sure could use a little good news today. Take it away, John. Let's hear some good news.
Looks like it comes from USA Today. Mystery couple regularly pays the bills for unsuspecting Applebee's diners. Yeah, if you're a fan of movies like Miracle on 34th Street or Pay It Forward, you might just think these tales about little acts of kindness are mere escapes from the real world. However, you'd be mistaken to think real do-gooders only live on the silver screen.
That's a George Bush term right there.
Just ask the patrons at one Applebee's restaurant in Washington, Pennsylvania, where an anonymous couple that eats there several times a week has been randomly paying the bills for unsuspecting diners for years. Reports KDKA-TV. According to the managers at the Applebee's located in the suburban Pittsburgh area, the couple owns a local business and decides to randomly pay for customers about 2 or 3 times per month. Jolie Welling, a recent recipient of the Bill Ferry's generosity, told USA Today Food, "This has never happened to me personally before. I always hear of it happening and was so shocked it took place, and what better way than for my daughter Sophia's 6th birthday. Much more than just a birthday surprise," Welling says, "this random act of kindness makes me reassured there are good people in this world. It also was good that my daughter Sophia got to see goodness in people."
That is tremendously awesome. And we want people to know that there still are people who are working out there to do good in different situations. That's especially hard hitting today. We wanted to make sure that we got some good news in today because of the tragedy and the evil thing that happened by one man out in Las Vegas. So, hey folks, if you get an opportunity to do good, seize that opportunity, seize the day, and just do something amazing out there in this world. Let's all participate and take a part in that. Well, that's going to wrap our show up for us today. Thank you for joining us here on the B. Andrews Radio Show. God bless you, and we will see you back here next Tuesday. Take care, everybody.